We are all rock stars, aren't we? The rock and roll workout for your inner white man was the last part of the Colonastics. On the previous festival days, we had the chance to watch two more parts: the Bavarian warm-up with beer and pretzels, my favorite, and the rave workout, which takes a crap out of privileged Berlin hipsters. Joanna, thanks so much for your Colonastics. It made my day each time, and I'm so glad that I got the chance to talk to you about your work. I'll introduce you just first to the audience, and then the two of us will start to talk. In her profile on the video platform Vimeo, Joanna Tischkau has two things to say. My name is Joanna with one N, and no, in dance school they didn't teach me how to dance it. Joanna Tischkau is a performer and choreographer connecting urban dance and pop culture with intersectional feminism and post-colonial theory. Currently living in Frankfurt, Germany, Joanna Tischkau received her formal training at the Coventry University in England with a degree in dancing and theatre. Yes, she did go to dance school, and there she developed a unique approach. Joanna has been invited to various international festivals with her own choreographies and collaborates with other artists and performance collectives on a regular basis. So now, Joanna, we can start talking. And I have a very simple question at the beginning. How did this idea come across your mind? Colonial gymnastics, a hilarious name and concept.
Thank you for this really nice introduction. The name was really like, at first it was a joke, because me and the sound designer, that Frida Blume, who also made the sound for Colonastics, we were on our way to apply for a residency. And there were other groups who applied for residencies, and one of the groups, their name was actually Colonastics with a K in front and an X at the end. And when we read this name, we was like, hey, what a funny name. And then maybe the German speaking audience, they also know that there is this game song which is like "Em Pompi Colonie Colonastics." So it all came from like really this kind of joking. Okay, Colonastics. What could this be? And like you said, I did dance training in the UK, and I also did a yoga teacher training there. And during my time at really like former dance school or like contemporary dance, I realized that there's some movements or movement qualities that out of contemporary dance are kind of like excluded, or a certain way to move, like for example the movement of the hips, or maybe something that we would consider like sensual or sexual, is of course it's consciously erased from the contemporary like modern dance, postmodern dance canon.
Definitely.
And then also with me doing this kind of yoga teacher training, then I had to kind of research the history of yoga and how it developed. And my yoga teacher, I have to say, he was very progressive, and he was really giving us also the tools to think critically about yoga and yoga teaching in the UK, but also like in the whole Western sphere, I would say. And he would say like, yeah, if you think about yoga as really like a practice that was also really influenced by the British colonial regime in India. It was not like, it's not this age-old practice that now has
like dance in India, yeah, like Bharatanatyam.
And it's not a practice that has not been influenced by the colonial history of India, but it was influenced, and so therefore it's, in a way, he called it, or how we talked about was that it's like a bastard. No, it's like a practice that kind of mixes Western gymnastics and maybe age-old tradition from India, and all of this kind of thinking what kind of led me to think, okay, if in the Western world we love so much to move like others, like we want to move like Black women, we want to sing, dance, like Black people, or also like we want to exercise this old age Indian practice, but we are not confronting our own whiteness in this, and this is why this is what I wanted to do with the work. I kind of make this visible.
I think that's specifically interesting because I always ask myself, how do we demask these forms of cultural appropriation and make it visible? I mean, you make it visible, but still, do people really, I mean, especially the people who have not this critical whiteness, or knowledge about critical whiteness discourse, how do you make it visible to them? Do you explain it? I mean, I saw some comments on your website and I laughed a lot, but is it possible to demask it through your videos, through your work?
I don't know if these videos can do it. For me, it's also like, I imagine it. I'm really thankful for the Goethe Institute that they kind of commissioned me to do this. It was in my head for 2 years or something. I had this idea of making this work long time ago. I actually imagine it as being a much bigger thing, like something that happens live, something that happens with audience.
Yeah. Yes.
And I did it also as a research. I did it with people. I did it with groups of people of color, with Black people. I did it with white people. And for me, yes, when I do it in real situations with real people, it works. Because when you tell people to act like a white man, they're like, oh, what does that mean? They don't know what it means. And for me, this realization already kind of makes it work in a way that you have to acknowledge, okay, every identity in this sense has this own performative element to it. And in this moment, I have to realize, okay, how am I performing my own whiteness? How do I perform whiteness? For me, it starts with something like when white people tell me not to speak so loud all the time, not
yes.
to be angry. That, of course, on the other hand, then also what they don't want me to do, which is like to be loud and angry, or to be like to gesture or whatever, that's also what they are performing. They maybe perform quietness and demure or whatever, or grace, and all these things, they're performative. So I think for me, this is where it starts, that you realize, oh wow, my own whiteness is also, I'm constructing it every day. I'm creating the image of a white woman, or I'm creating the image of a white. So you also need to start working actively against it. I don't know if the videos can do that, and they're also meant to kind of really just start something, you know, like so I hope that it works in small parts, that it's a beginning, that it's a starting point for some people.
Yeah. I have a couple of more questions. I hope we have enough time. You mentioned it just shortly. You said you expected a big stage, a big audience. This was the original idea. How was this digital format for you as an artist? I mean, what has changed? Some people say, okay, it influenced my creativity. Did you also detect advantages? What did happen to your work through this change?
I mean, it's challenged me in a way to think, okay, what can I produce, or what can I make that still kind of works in this kind of digital space. I have to say, I'm not a great advocate for streaming, or for showing performances on the internet, because especially like my work, it works because I am in a room with people, and it is about confrontation. It's really also this workout. It's about confrontation, confronting people with their own positioning, their own their own space, their own whatever, like cultural environment, whatever, with their own identity. So for me, the digital works can only do so much. They can only they can only be like a starting point, because we have to realize that it's really like it's like two-dimensional. It's like it goes out, but the way how it can come back is very limited. I mean,
you can't smell it. The atmosphere.
People can comment, and I actually receive a lot of comments on social media by some people say, oh, I really like the work. It works for me. It works. That's great. If it works, I'm super happy about that. But for me, it can never replace the face-to-face performance stage.
Yeah, I fully agree. Would you say that humor is more likely to reach people instead of appealing to their humanity and morals?
You know, I was thinking about this question, because for me, actually, it's not so much about humor. I know that the product at the end, it comes out as funny. But
no, it's not.
no, but actually it's not. For me, it's about absurd.
No, it's not.
If I have to say, it's about being absurd. And for me, this has a lot to do with the experience that maybe you can relate of being a non-white person living in Germany, and the absurdity you're confronted with every day. The fact that when people ask you, this is really stupid and I don't want to discuss it anymore, but when people ask you, where are you from? That you have to legitimize your own presence in this country, in this world. It's absurd. It's like, there's nothing else that I can do but make a joke about it or make a fun. It's like, come on, like, and this humor, which actually is happening between people of color a lot. This is something which I want to like, I want to bring out, or I don't know how to call it, but I want to make it visible for others. I don't specifically make it for a wide audience.
No, yeah.
So I know that maybe there's a lot of jokes. Like you said it very well. I think your interpretation of the workers are great, but I think it also comes from being a woman of color. I can imagine that white people would have interpreted it very differently. Or what happens when they say, but come on, Bavaria, I'm not Bavarian. It's like, yeah, like I said, it's not so much about humor. It's more really about absurdity and this situation that you as a non-white person are being put in, that you have to kind of
definitely
so
definitely this is like when I joke with other Indians about it is the same of Indian, or even being German of Indian origin, of course. I have one question I want to ask desperately, because the time is running. Your work tackles very practical questions like stereotypes about the female POC body and anti-racist practices. And you also do educational performance work with young adults, which you mentioned before. Especially young adults are particularly very vulnerable when their physicality is stereotyped or doesn't fit in the white Western concept. And this experiences often last a lifetime. I know that I worked for German TV 20 years ago, and they always talked about Sehgewohnheiten, visual habits. And I still have question marks in my head. So what is particularly important about in your work with young people? How do you work with them regarding awareness, identity, acceptance?
I mean, I have to say, one of the most important things for me is actually that when it's funny because the people then I get asked to work with are also a lot of the time kids of color. It's like they think, she comes from hip hop, and we have a group of post-migrant kids here. They like hip hop. Let's put them together. First of all, that's ridiculous, because no. Maybe they don't even like hip hop. They might be black, but
yes.
So,
all of them have to do hip hop.
Yeah. So what I mostly do is actually I really first try to find out what do they want to do. What do they really want to do? Is that what is projected onto them? Is that really what they want to do? And then I have to fight the institutions a lot sometimes. And be like, because they already put so much onto that. Like when you work with refugees, they want them to tell the story of how they came to how they fled. And for me, this is the most, I'm like, but maybe they're not interested in telling the stories. Maybe they want to make a soap opera about, I don't know, a young girl falling in love. They want to tell the same stories that everybody else wants to tell. So this is what this is my first approach, kind of like, in a way, like to let people, to find out what they really want to do beyond the projection, the stereotypes, and then I also, and if they do want to do whatever is expected, because I can relate to that so much. It's like, you are a person of color, a young adult, and you found something that you want to do, and you saw yourself like, okay, there's Beyonce, and you want to be like Beyonce. I would never say to someone, don't do it because it's problematic. I also encourage people to be like, okay, if that's what you want to do right now, do it. But let's talk about what it means, like, on stage representation. And this is my approach, I would say.
Thank you so much. I have one small last question, and you have to answer really briefly because we are running out of time. What is your next project? What do you have in the pipeline?
I think it's really important, especially right now. Like I realize, or like, yeah, I mean, also the work that I did, it's crazy that it comes in this moment. Like it was never intended to be like this. But we're working actually on a project which we call Deutsches Museum für schwarze Unterhaltung und Black Music. I say the title because it's very important.
Okay.
And we are working on really creating an archive, or really like a small museum space, which makes visible the variety of Black German musicians, entertainers, performers since the 50s. You know, there's people who sung Schlager music, popular German folk music. Of course, there's German hip hop, German rap. But we also want to look at those people who are kind of looked at with like this, like people like, you know, Nadia Abdel Farag, who, you know, very problematic how the media portrayed her. But still, for me as a Black woman, she was important because I saw someone on TV who looked like me. She didn't necessarily did what I would now say, oh, wow, that's great that she does that. But still, she was important for making Blackness visible in German history. So this time, this is what we do. It's going to come out in August. We're going to start in France, work with the Musanturm. And so keep looking out for this kind of...
Yeah, tell me the name again, just for our international...
It's Deutsches Museum.
German Museum. And then?
For Black entertainment and Black music.
Okay, thanks a lot, Joanna. Thanks a lot for challenging our bodies and spirit. I hope I meet you again on some panels. I'm very sure we will meet again. and I want to see your work live one day. Right, we are now going to the next point of the program, right? After a short break at 3 p.m. Central European Time, you have the opportunity to watch Eric Oneke's music and poetry again. He is performing live today, and he will answer your questions in a Q&A session. So make sure you don't miss this. In the afternoon, we have again scheduled an exciting agenda, which you can find on the website. And I will see you again at 17:15 with another live debate. And this time it will be in German, and there's a simultaneous translation. I hope I see you there. Enjoy the rest of the program, and thanks again to Joanna Tischko. Bye-bye.